The village of Silvertree was old, very old, ancient even. It lay nestled amidst a valley surrounded by a forest older than time itself. The villagers spoke of a curse. They whispered tales of a black altar hidden deep within the woods. It was a place of fear, shrouded in whispers and shadows. The altar, they said, was used for unspeakable rituals. Demons answered the calls of those who dared to summon them there. Villagers spoke of sacrifices, of blood staining the black stone. No one dared to go near the accursed place, not anymore. The forest held its breath whenever the altar was mentioned. Even the wind seemed to avoid the clearing where it stood. The black altar was a scar on the land, a reminder of a darkness that refused to die. Yusuf scoffed at the stories. He was a man of science, of logic and reason. Superstitions held no power over him. He believed in what he could see, what he could touch. The curse, he claimed, was nothing more than a fabricated tale. There are no such things as curses, he declared to the village elders one day. His voice was firm, unwavering, just old stories meant to frighten children. The elders exchanged worried glances. They warned him of the dangers, of the unseen forces that lurked in the shadows, but Yusuf refused to listen. He would prove them wrong, he vowed. He would expose the black altar for what it truly was, a pile of harmless rocks. Yusuf decided to venture into the forest alone. He would spend the night at the altar, he announced. He would show everyone that there was nothing to fear. The forest seemed to press in around him as he ventured deeper. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of damp earth and decay. The sunlight struggled to penetrate the dense canopy above, casting long, eerie shadows on the forest floor. He could hear the villagers' warnings echoing in his ears. He pushed them aside, focusing on the path ahead. His flashlight cut a narrow beam through the darkness, but it did little to ease his growing unease. The deeper he went, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. The forest seemed to be watching him, its unseen eyes following his every move. The sounds of the night, usually a comforting symphony, now seemed to twist into menacing whispers, taunting him, urging him to turn back. He stumbled upon a clearing. The black altar stood in the center, bathed in the pale moonlight. Even in the darkness, it seemed to exude a palpable aura of dread. The air grew cold, and Yusuf could feel the hairs on the back of his neck prickle. He was close, too close. He approached the altar cautiously. It was larger than he had imagined, its surface rough and cold beneath his touch. He took a deep breath, trying to calm his racing heart. He pulled out his flashlight and a worn book he had found in the village library, a book that spoke of the altar and the rituals performed there. He opened the book and began to read aloud, his voice echoing strangely in the stillness of the night. He read of ancient beings, of sacrifices and invocations. He scoffed at the words, trying to convince himself that they were nothing more than the ramblings of superstitious minds. The air grew colder. The wind picked up, swirling around him like an unseen spectre. The shadows from the surrounding trees seemed to writhe and contort. They reached towards him with long skeletal fingers. Fear, cold and sharp, pierced through his skepticism. The ground beneath him began to tremble. A low hum resonated from the altar, growing louder with each passing second. He tried to move, to run, but his feet were rooted to the spot. He was trapped. A figure began to solidify from the shadows behind the altar. It was tall and skeletal, with eyes that burned like hot coals. The book slipped from Yusuf's grasp as a scream escaped his lips. The figure lunged. The next morning, the villagers found Yusuf's flashlight lying on the path leading to the village. The book was beside it, its pages flung open. Scrawled across the open pages in a language that chilled them to the bone was a single, terrifying message. Do not tempt the darkness. Yusuf was never seen again.